Hello, and welcome to my YouTube channel once again. Today we have the case of Cody Johnson and Jordan Graham. This is another one of those cases that was highly requested due to the incredible situation, as you may have seen in the title. Which, by the way, this case is already resolved and also has a resolution in terms of trials, in terms of sentences, all of that. He was Cody Lee Johnson, born on April 8th, 1988 in California, United States. Cody was born in the city of San Jose, in California. There he lived with Sherry Johnson, who raised him as a single mother. He had no siblings, so his mother was practically his only family, so they developed a very close relationship. Cody loved her very much. At a very early age, Sherry decided that the best thing for them was to move to a smaller, quieter town. The chosen destination was the city of Kalispell in Montana, a tourist city whose main attractions are Flathead Lake and Glacier National Park, a mountainous area full of beautiful landscapes and routes to explore. There, Cody grew up and spent most of his life without any problems. In fact, he enjoyed nature a lot, so it was the perfect place to live. Upon reaching adolescence, Cody began to develop what would be one of his great passions, cars. Particularly, he was attracted to common cars modified for racing. He liked the whole idea of going fast in places with his friends. So, little by little, and on his own, he began learning some mechanics and started fixing cars for friends and acquaintances. He also really liked guns. It's precisely because of these interests that he made several acquaintances who enjoyed the same things. They said that Cody was a very fun person, someone outgoing, who loved to talk. After high school, he kept working independently with cars. For a while, he had his own business. But after his 20s, he got a better and more stable job at a company called Nomad Global Communication Services, where his uncle and many of his friends also worked. So it was also enjoyable for him. He never put aside his hobby for cars. Up until this point, everything was going well in Cody's life. He had a good job, did all the things he liked, lived in a nice and quiet city. Everything seemed perfect. But for a long time, he wanted to meet a girl to marry and start a family. He told his mother and friends that he wanted to find a girl from the church, as he occasionally attended Mass on Sundays. He wanted her to have the same beliefs as him, to share his desire to have children. And so it was that in October of 2011, he met Jordan Graham, the other protagonist of this story. In fact, they had already crossed paths a couple of times before, as they both attended church activities, but they never interacted with each other. They formally met at a Halloween party on the 31st of October of that year. But who was this girl? Jordan Graham was born in August of 1991 in Montana, has a younger brother, and her parents were devout Orthodox of the Baptist Church, which was perfect, as he wanted just this girl who was in the church and had the same faith as him. She spent almost literally her entire life in the church. All her friendships, activities, and interests were, in some way or another, related to that place. Despite living in a house full of rules and traditions, Jordan lived a relatively normal life. In addition, she worked as a babysitter, and not only did she like the job, but she was also interested in the idea of having children. She loved caring for children, as did Cody. It was then that, after meeting and going on a couple of dates, they began a relationship. Their personalities were quite different, and it showed. Cody was an outgoing, charismatic person with a lot of self-confidence. He was also very kind and charitable to others. He was willing to do anything for the people he loved. On the other hand, Jordan was very shy and introverted. She had a hard time socializing with other people, and outside of church activities, she didn't do much. From the start, Jordan wasn't very eager to meet Cody. She didn't love the idea of going out with him. One of her requirements was for her future husband to be very involved in the church. That's why, to please her, Cody starts going to church more and more, and getting involved by going to Mass every Sunday and participating in all the activities that it organized. Something else I should tell you is that for everyone, Jordan was a person who seemed absolutely normal. People didn't usually look at her and think that something was wrong with her. In fact, they thought she might be a bit shy, but not much more than that. That's why her coldness after the events was also surprising. Jordan and Cody then officially became a couple in November of 2011, despite all the differences they had. A few months into the relationship, Cody was convinced that Jordan was the girl he was looking for and was very sure he wanted to marry her. Was he saving his salaries to be able to give her that engagement ring? The relationship they had was atypical due to Jordan's shy personality. The couple's friends said they never saw them kiss in public, not even hold hands. Or at least that's what they interpreted, that it was because she was shy, but in reality, it was more because she really didn't like it much, so to speak. Cody Jordan also told Cody that she practiced celibacy and chastity, meaning she would not have sex with him. Until after they were married, Cody had no problem with this. So, after just over a year of dating, in December of 2012, Cody proposes to Jordan. And she says yes, despite not being super excited about the idea. In fact, this was something everyone could see. Jordan was not super happy with the idea of having Cody so close. It was already noticeable in their relationship that she didn't like it too much. But regarding marriage, it was even worse. Yes, she was happy about the idea of getting married, more so about the idea of the party and having her friends there. But when she thought a little more about having to live with Cody, her attitude changed. As I said, Jordan agreed anyway, and the wedding date was set for June 29th, 2013. Cody, for his part, was super excited about getting married, living together, starting a family. He wanted the whole package and loved the idea of being with Jordan. Jordan, however, was happier with planning the party. She loved this part, along with her best friend, and Cody handled the whole process of arranging the wedding ceremony. Again, her favorite part of all this? So we come to the wedding day. The ceremony went off without a hitch, although some noticed a somewhat strange attitude on Jordan's part during the marriage process. Especially at the moment of saying I do at the altar, where she can be seen constantly looking to one side, without making eye contact with Cody. Her friends understood from this that she was actually very nervous. She was shy. She didn't like being surrounded by so many people. But again, she actually didn't like Cody very much. After that, the rest of the party went on as usual. They danced, ate, and everything typical of a wedding. However, one somewhat strange, slightly disturbing detail is that they had their own song made for the ceremony. And it is interesting, to say the least. The composer Elizabeth Shee made them a custom theme that she now describes as creepy. The song You're Mine had phrases like, "Everyone wants a safe place to fall, and you're mine. You helped me climb higher for a better view. You're my safe place to fall, never let me go." Clearly, these are quite generic phrases to put for a marriage. But let's remember that the crime happened 8 days after the wedding, and that the song was fresh in the minds of the people who attended. What is true, the artist had to work with Jordan to make the song, so she was very aware of what they were writing. On the other hand, Jordan seemed very happy. She was happy about her marriage. Or maybe for what this entailed, like the wedding and the new house. The problem then is that the song, which was supposed to be a special moment for the couple, ended up being prophetic. After the party was over, Cody and Jordan went on their honeymoon. They arrived at the room where they were supposed to consummate the marriage, but apparently this did not happen. It seems that Jordan was still not very convinced about the whole matter of having relations with her husband, which, for him, was fine that day, because she had made an excuse. She had informed him that due to her menstruation, she was unable to, despite her desire to do so. So nothing happened that first night, and nothing happened the rest of the days either. The next day, Jordan sent messages to her maid of honor, Kimberly Martinez, expressing serious doubts about whether getting married was the right thing to do. And in the following days, she continued to message her friend about this. The situation had become too real for her. She had no interest in being there or learning about the subject. And she didn't think that day would come. After just one night, she had decided to leave the honeymoon and move to her new home, a place where she would already be living with Cody. Cody and Jordan were 25 and 21 years old at that time, respectively. They were already living together, and Cody wanted to start a family. It is under this context, a week after they got married and already living together, that we move to the day of the events. July 7th, 2013 was a normal day, like any other. The couple, who were still newlyweds, went to church to see their friends and attend, as was customary. That day, Cody had arranged to go out with other friends, but decided to skip it to attend Sunday service with his new wife. People close to them didn't perceive any kind of fight, nothing out of the ordinary. Later, Cody, Jordan, and their group of friends go out to dinner, and shortly after 8 p.m., Cody and Jordan leave them at the Dairy Queen restaurant and head home. This would be the last time this group of friends would see Cody alive. After that occasion, Cody never returned. The first person to notice Cody's absence was his boss and friend, Cameron Fredrickson. He realized when he noticed that he didn't show up for work. This was totally out of the ordinary, as Cody had never missed work without giving notice. After a few hours, Cameron started sending messages and calling Cody, but there was no response. He asked his colleagues if they had seen him or knew anything about him, but none did. It was then that he called Cody's wife, Jordan, in the afternoon to ask about him. She told him what she had been telling everyone who asked, that they had fought and he had left with some friends, or car friends as she called them, referring to the friends who shared his interest in cars. And from that moment, he had not returned. To Cameron, this whole story that Jordan was telling did not quite convince him, as it was not something Cody usually did. Cameron decided to go to the house directly because the whole situation gave him a bad vibe, as if something had happened. He then arrives at the house and finds in the garage the only worrying thing in the whole place, Cody's phone. There were no signs of a break-in theft. Nothing was broken except Cody's phone, lying there as if untouched. The same thing happened the next day. Cody missed work again. This time, Cameron decided to notify the police along with Cody's phone. The concern for Cody's disappearance had already reached most of his friends and family. Everyone seemed worried about him. Everyone except Jordan. First of all, she hadn't called the police, and only after Cameron made the calls, she texted a friend to see if he knew anything about her husband. The attitude was, of course, strange. Several witnesses recount that that night they all gathered at Cody's house to organize the search, and that Jordan was alone, sitting, looking at her phone, as if she didn't care about what was happening. She didn't seem sad. She simply didn't react to her husband's disappearance, as if he hadn't left, as if she didn't have a husband. After a while, she became very nervous and annoyed because everyone was in her house, and in a fit of rage, she ended up throwing her wedding ring against the wall. Without a doubt, everyone was surprised by the attitude that Jordan was showing. They thought that in this situation, she would want help looking for Cody, but she doesn't seem to be the case, quite the opposite. It is then that, despite this behavior, Cody's family and friends begin to look for him. They put up flyers everywhere. They start physically looking for him in the area, but they find nothing. The police took the case very seriously from the beginning, which is a bit different from what we usually see on the channel. By June 9th, that is, the day after Cody's disappearance, they were already questioning people, including Jordan. Jordan was questioned multiple times during this period as more details emerged. More and more doubts, more and more suspicions about her. Jordan at this point had changed the situation a bit. She said that after having dinner with her friends, Cody received a phone call that left him upset. She gave him some space to calm down, and then after a while, she realized that he had left something at his work, so she went to get it. She told the investigators that at that moment, when she went to get the things, she received a message from Cody saying that he would continue with his friends. However, she also says that the last time she saw him was in a car outside the house, about to leave around 10 p.m. She also says that she saw Cody leaving, but she wasn't sure where he was going or with whom. She peeked inside the car and saw that he appeared to be with friends, but friends of Jordan, whom she had never seen before. People from out of town, who anyway, no one else seemed to know. Her statements contained noticeable inconsistencies, including unanswered questions and confused or changing facts about the day of the disappearance. He said he doesn't find it strange, as it was something he used to do. He enjoyed taking his friends for a drive to test out cars. Oddly, he never returned. They questioned him about not reporting it to the police. She said she didn't do it because she thought Cody would get mad if she did and that he would come back. In a while, or in a few hours, or at some point. The investigators had serious suspicions, but they had no evidence that she had anything to do with it, so they had to let her go. As for the call that Jordan said her husband had received, Cody's mother had requested the phone records. So they checked them and found a call around the time that Jordan had reported. The thing is, it came from a man named Jose, who was in another city and had nothing to do with a concerning call. He explained to the police that they were talking about a tool that they had lent to each other, and that he had found, but that there was no problem. It was not a situation to get angry about, and it was not the situation at all. Of course, he could have been lying, but anyway, it would be a bit strange that the same night, just a few hours after the call, this Jose would have gone there to kill him or make him disappear. Since they were in Montana and Jose was in Washington, it's many hours of travel, but also Jose was in the hospital with his wife, having a baby, so definitely no, he couldn't have anything to do with it, at least not physically. The next day, July 10th, Jordan receives an email that said the following: "My name is Tony. There's no longer a problem in looking for Cody. Has he left? I saw your post on Twitter and thought about sending you an email. He had come with some friends and met up with me Sunday night in Columbia Falls. He said he needed to spend some time with his friends and take them for a ride. 3 of the boys came back, saying they had gone for a walk in the woods somewhere, and Cody got out of the car and went for a little hike. Are you sure he fell and is dead, Jordan? I don't know who the boys were, but they left. So cancel the missing persons report. Cody is definitely gone." Signed, Tony S. The email clearly said that Cody had fallen on the mountain and they should stop looking for him. It also had some pretty strange things. It didn't say exactly who had taken him and who he was with. If anyone tried to help him, it didn't say anything at all. And the signature was also a bit suspicious. The whole email was suspicious. Obviously, this email was fake, and Jordan had sent it to herself from an account she had created. But she thought she could deceive others this way and somehow stop the search. She started showing this email to her friends and family, but she didn't seem upset, bothered, nothing. She didn't seem impressed at all, even though someone was confessing that her husband was dead. It was her friends who urged her to take this more seriously and take it to the police. But it only raised more doubts, far from deceiving others. No one knew this, Tony. Moreover, no one could even verify that what he was saying was true. The only one who seemed to accept and believe him was her, generating even more suspicions. Because after all, she was very calm. She had shown the email, she had made everyone worry, but she was just fine. The email, as I said, was signed as Tony S., so they looked for someone with that name. It turns out that Cody had a friend named Tony, whose last name also started with S, but he didn't know anything about this man's whereabouts. What's more, even though he knew him, and they saw each other occasionally, they didn't work together. They didn't do activities together. He hadn't seen him in a long time, and had no idea what they were talking about. No, his email box was not that. He had never created an email like that, or anything similar. He hadn't sent that, but clearly someone wanted the police to think he did. Days later, search parties formed, including Cody's family and friends. The first place they went to was Glacier National Park. According to what the email said, while everyone was giving their utmost effort in the search, Jordan didn't seem to be very interested. He excused himself by saying, "I don't think it's here." How could he know? A normal person wouldn't know. Finally, the next day, Jordan said he had a revelation and knew where the body was. They had to go to what was one of the highest places, where there was a parking lot, and a hike began on the side of the mountain. A very dangerous hike, where if you step wrong, you fall. It seems that Jordan and Cody always went there, according to what she said, again, according to what she said. Jordan navigated the path effortlessly. He got to a certain area, looked down and said, "Oh, I think it's here." She looked again and confirmed that it was him. I want to make it clear that you really couldn't see anything. There was something down there, but it was very hard to tell what. Besides, we're talking about a mountain with lots of paths, places where he could have fallen. And she just gets to that exact place, and in an area where you can't see anything, she finds him. Just her alone. The strange thing is that if she didn't want them to know where she was, she could have said nothing, that none of them would have thought to look there. No one in the group knew about this path. No one knew how to navigate it, and no one saw the body. Yes, it was there. It's true it was there, but they saw a stain, because you really couldn't confirm it from afar. Everyone was in disbelief at what they were seeing, and immediately called the police to recover the body. The group wondered how it was possible that Jordan knew the exact location of the body. She continued to insist that she had a mystical revelation and that the Holy Spirit had guided her. The strange thing was that finding her dead husband's body didn't make her shed a single tear. Everyone was devastated at the sight of their friend and family member dead there. And she was like, "Okay, done, resolved, perfect. We can go home now." The police had difficulty recovering the body due to its location in a hard-to-reach place. As I say, it was not easy to confirm that there was a body, because nothing was visible. Someone rappelled down slightly, secured by a rope, to verify that there was a person there. But to bring him back up, they had to do a whole different operation. In fact, they had to take him out with a helicopter. I say it again. If he hadn't taken them there, they could never have blamed her for the crime. The body had terrible injuries. No need to go into much detail. Just imagine it was like falling from a 20th floor. Investigators compared the injuries to those caused by a car accident without using a seatbelt. I had fractures in every possible part of the body, and the scene was terrible. In addition, near the body, there was a piece of cloth that would be important in determining what had happened to him. As I said, Jordan believed he could get away with it, that they would take all of this as if it were an accident. But far from this, with Cody's death confirmed, the investigators had almost everything they needed to arrest her. Not only was the piece of fabric there, the strange email from a friend that said friend had never sent. But Cody's friends were very puzzled because he was afraid of heights. He would never have been in a place like that. Never. It was then, while they were waiting for the telephone evidence and the information that Google had to give them about the emails, that Kimberly Martinez, the friend to whom Jordan was telling everything, came into the scene. Obviously, she had reasons to think that Jordan might have something to do with the case. There were some very worrying details. Jordan was telling her in a message that she cried all the time she was married, and that she wished someone had asked her what she wanted. What she meant to say was that in reality, she not only didn't want to be in the marriage, but she had also been technically forced to be there because of her beliefs, her family, people in general, who expected her to say yes to the idea of marriage. Let's remember, it was 8 days. She had told Cody that she was menstruating, but of course, this excuse would only last a week. Kimberly's messages, just before Cody vanished, also revealed something unexpected. Jordan told her that her husband had grabbed her and had gotten angry, yelling in her face. She said that her husband got angry quickly. One of these nights, Jordan told Kimberly that she was finally going to tell Cody how she felt about the issue of having relations, but to be alert, as she truly believed he would react badly and do something to her. On July 7th, she visited Kimberly's house and said Cody had reacted badly, stating he didn't want to have sex, and thus didn't want children, at that moment, and that she had decided to leave the house to leave him alone for a while. So it is with the account of her best friend that on September 9th of that year, Jordan Graham was arrested for the second-degree murder of her husband, Cody Johnson. Let's then look at the facts as such, with the testimonies of Jordan Graham, among others, and the police investigations. But precisely because Jordan is recounting most of this, it may not be 100% truthful. It was Sunday, July 7th, 2013. Cody and Jordan had been married for just a week. They both went to church together, as was customary that Sunday, and then spent some time chatting with some friends. Meanwhile, Jordan kept sending messages to her friend Kimberly about how worried she was about her marriage. Finally, it was decided that she would talk to Cody that day about what was going on. When they got home that evening, Jordan told him about her doubts and fears. The discussion gradually escalated, and to try to calm the situation a bit, they decided to go for a drive. Around 9 o'clock at night, they arrive at Glacier National Park and begin to venture along the routes. But at one point, they deviate from the main roads and venture into quite dangerous areas. According to Jordan's testimony, they were on this road, where they later find him. When they argue again, Cody pushes and grabs her arm. She tells him to let go, and he does, turning around. It was at that moment that she took the opportunity to push him off a cliff, causing him to fall from a height of approximately 60 meters. Jordan immediately left the place, and when she got home, she started telling her friends and family that she and Cody had had a big argument. After that, he departed with his friends and never returned. The issue with this is that a piece of fabric was found at the scene, so in reality, the investigators believed that it wasn't like that, but that she had taken him to this place, with promises of doing things or a romantic walk or something. The prosecution had overwhelming evidence. Wasn't it very difficult to find out that the email Tony had sent was sent from Jordan's parents' house? They also had all the inconsistencies in her statements. But one of the most important pieces of evidence was a video on the security camera at the entrance of Glacier Park, where you can clearly see both of them entering the park in a car at night. Another piece of evidence they had to ensure that Jordan had been there with Cody that night were the cell tower records. The prosecution then said that Jordan had premeditatedly taken her husband to the place. This was the important part to prove that she had tricked him into covering his eyes, and then had taken him near the ledge to throw him off. Her numerous messages to her friend expressing doubts about her marriage reinforced all of this. Clearly, having planned it would give Jordan a life sentence, with no possibility of ever getting out. With all this said then, the trial began in December of 2013, and it seemed that Jordan would try to defend her innocence. But 3 days after the trial began, and after the prosecutor's statement, with all that I said previously, Jordan ended up pleading guilty to second-degree murder charges, not first degree, but the second. He hadn't planned it, but he was admitting that he committed the murder. So they couldn't blame her for having planned it, which they couldn't do anyway, because the only real evidence they had that she might have planned it was the piece of cloth she might have used to cover his eyes. And they couldn't add to the charges the lying to the police with different testimonies of what really happened. For these things, and because she admitted to being guilty, she was sentenced to 30 years in prison, with no possibility of parole. While the case is resolved, because she has her sentence, because she admitted that she really did it. The reasons that led Jordan to do this are still unknown, because we don't know if she's lying. In part of her statement, because she said they had fought, and that's why she threw it. But we really don't know. There is also the doubt whether Jordan planned the murder or not. That was never clear, because if so, the charges would be different, such as first-degree murder, and he could face a life sentence. However, there is no proof that he carried it out in a premeditated manner. For my part, I still don't understand why she simply didn't keep quiet and play the worried one. Maybe it's because at some point she wanted the case to be dropped. And she believed that if they found him, they would say it was an accident, that he simply fell. But with everything she had already done, and with this attitude of not missing him in the slightest, it left a lot of doubts. Did she really think the police were going to stop the investigation if they found him, and if she wrote that email on behalf of some friend that no one knew? Realistically, she had thrown her husband into a place where he would never be found. What if tourists passed by, people who went through that area, people who traveled this mountainous path? They could look down there where the body was, but they wouldn't realize it was a body. As for the issue of why he could have done it, it could clearly have been for what she says. This thing about him pushing her, because her life was in danger, because he was too rough, because he was grabbing her, because he was pulling her. But it could also have been because she simply didn't want to be married, and because she didn't want to have relations, and this man was expecting all of that from her. It could also be because she simply didn't like him, and the pressure from her family, the pressure of being in a religion that forced her to marry, could have been too much. What is certain is that the marriage was against her will. Even though she may have said yes, she could have said yes only because of the pressure, and that she really didn't want to get married. She didn't want to get married, that we are sure of. It could also have happened that when she saw how her menstruation week was ending, this lie she had told her husband, she realized that she could no longer lie, and that she could no longer draw out the situation, so she decided it was better to kill him. Clearly not. Bad decision, bad idea in general. But could that have happened? As for the issue that Cody was volatile when he got angry, as for the issue that he was a bit aggressive, we're never going to know because no previous partner said anything about this, and the only person who knew was Jordan's friend. So there are many doubts left. The problem is also that if she ever tells the truth, we won't know if it's really the truth or if she's lying again. The reality is that there was a piece of cloth at the scene. That wouldn't be explained in any other way, unless it was to block the husband's view, in which case it would have been planned. But anyway, if you can think of any other possibility, let me know in the comments below. I want to know what you think about this case, and what you think about all the possibilities of reasons how the murder happened. Tell me what you think. So well, here are the Patreons and the channel members. Thank you for supporting me through those platforms. And with nothing more to say, here is a new video, here is a recommended video. You can subscribe by clicking on my face, and see you in another video. Goodbye.